it's your girl Ronji. Welcome back to RHP, and today I had an interesting talk with my dad, and I thought it's better we share this with our viewers. My dad has been one of the biggest health enthusiasts I've known, okay? For a long time now, he's observed certain principles in matters health, including how to eat, what to eat, when to eat, how to sleep, when to sleep, and stuff like that. Today I got an opportunity to bring him on the show, and let me allow him to introduce himself. Papa, karibu sana.
Thank you, Ronji, for inviting me to your show this morning, that I may share a few things about health matters health. To begin with, my name is Apollo Buyo. I'm 69 years old this year. At the moment, I'm a retired civil servant. I'm at home, having retired some 14 years ago from the civil service. And currently, I'm occupied with a bit of farming here and there, a bit of dairy farming, and the likes. And of course, being at home at this age, there's a lot of many social activities within the village. They take a bit of my time also. And my interest in matters health is something unique, I would say. It has not always been so. Generally, I was born a healthy child, just like all other children. And as I grew up, I was generally healthy. I don't remember being hospitalized at any time in my earlier years. But now during my teen years, that's when I believe the issues of affecting my health started. And they started because of what I would call careless lifestyle and health styles. How did it come about? Due to peer pressure and peer companies, I started smoking at the age of around 15. And then at around the age of 16, I started drinking alcohol, that is. And then progressively onwards, started using other drugs like cannabis and the likes. You know how it is with young people. By this time I was in secondary school, and I didn't know it was affecting my health. But it was also affecting my studies. I didn't perform very well as I should have done had I kept away from these substances. But all in all, I managed to finish my secondary education at a technical school. And then I was employed at a relatively early age as a trainee in one of the government corporations. And then later I joined the civil service a year later, and I continued with this lifestyle. I thought I was enjoying life, but I was later to discover I was not enjoying life, I was ruining my life. Now, this thing progressively went on until early 80s, when I'd become completely addicted to alcohol and smoking. I could do about a packet and a half of cigarettes a day. And with alcohol, of course, I could take quite an enormous stuff. But it degenerated to a point where I could even take any kind of brew so long as it was intoxicating. The turning point came sometime in 1984. My dad visited me at one of my workstations. And that, I remember, was in Homa Bay. In fact, Homa Bay was one of my lowest points in my life, health-wise and all-wise. And I remember he found me with a friend when he visited me. He had come all the way from Nairobi to see me. We had a certain mission around that place. And then he found me with a colleague, a friend. And then I introduced my dad to my colleague, to my friend. And there is one question my friend asked me. You mean your dad or your brother? I told him, but this is my dad. Then he asked me, but why? He looks younger than you. At that time, then I realized that things were bad. That things had gone south. And it took me really time. It took me time to think about it. I was looking older than my dad. What had caused all this? And I realized it was the lifestyle I had undertaken. And at that point, I felt I must have a change. Yeah, you ask what did I do? Yes, I was desperate. Things looked bad, but I couldn't get out of it. Try as I couldn't get out of it. Until towards the end of that year, I came home on annual leave. By that time, I was already married with one child, our firstborn daughter. My wife was at home in the rural areas, and I came home on leave. And I was such a wreck that when I arrived home, I was basically broke. I had nothing. And then when I saw my family, it dawned on me how bad things were. My mom and my wife were together. And I remember one thing only. I told them, pray for me. They prayed. And the Lord heard the cry in my heart. And from that time on, I got deliverance from addiction of alcohol, from addiction of cigarettes. And that is where the change in matters health came. After that deliverance from alcohol addiction and cigarette addiction and drugs addiction, I realized that God loved me. And God desired me to have a healthy life. And God desired me to have a healthy mind and a healthy life spiritually. And so I gave my life to God and was born again. Yeah, you ask what changes were now there in my life, health-wise and otherwise. To recognize these changes, maybe I have to mention something relating to the earlier life. During this period where I was alcohol dependent and drugs dependent, I had suffered a lot of memory losses. And often I could not do anything until I had taken a sip or a cigarette or that kind of thing. Basically, I was alcohol dependent to be able to function. Sleep itself was difficult. Those few days that I had not taken anything, I found it difficult to sleep. Eating was also a problem. So I was suffering also from loss of weight and all those things characteristic with malnutrition. But now having given my life to Christ, of course the change was gradual, but now I realized that my appetite was coming back, and slowly I was regaining my health, weight and otherwise, and my memory also was now becoming much better and better. And I didn't need any alcohol to function early in the morning or late in the day. And I really thank God for that period, because it showed me the change, or it was quite a marked difference, and I really appreciated it. And I would say that in recognizing that God wanted me to have a healthy life, that has motivated me and kept me going to maintain that life. One, I recognize God as the source of life and the source of health. And of course, God is the source of life. And with life, He has also wanted us to have a good health, because you cannot have life without health. And I also realized that God is the sustainer of this health. And of course, the end result also is to reach God's ideal, that perfection that God had in mind when He created man. So these ideals have kept me going to date. And I can really say there's a lot of benefits in a healthy lifestyle. Of course, we'll share later some of these healthy lifestyles. But I felt much lighter these days. I felt, in fact, if I may say something here, at some point, I met a friend I had not seen for quite some time. He knew me in those earlier days. Then when he met, he remarked how young I looked. And I wondered, here is this me, who some 34 years ago, 35 years ago, looked older than my dad. But now I was being told I was younger. So that has also kept me motivated. Now, concerning my lifestyle now, maybe you'll allow me to share something a bit of the old lifestyle so that you can see really what happened. During those careless years, and I would call them careless, wasteful years, I picked up a lot of wrong habits. One, I was a heavy meat eater. I couldn't eat any meal without meat. Secondly, I was taking any kind of food, junk foods and the likes. Anything that was called food. You know, with an alcoholic, you have very little control over what you eat. There was also, of course, the issue of eating irregularly, sleeping irregularly, and those kinds of things. But now I realize that if I had to maintain this good health that the Lord has given me, I had to make certain drastic and dramatic changes in my life. So I started working on my nutrition. And herein I reduced my meat eating. Of course, I was later to cut it out completely because I realized it was not that beneficial. Now, also, I decided to cut out a lot of junk foods that I used to eat. Foods without any nutritional value. And I started adopting healthy eating. Foods that add value to the body. And basically that means a balanced diet. And now I concentrated more on vegetables and fruits and the likes. And of course, the normal carbohydrates. For proteins, because having cut out of all the meats and all the flesh, I adopted vegetable proteins. And this has also helped me a lot in my present lifestyle. Going forward also, I realized that I used to sleep late during those early times. But now I realize that I needed adequate rest. These days, at the most, by 9:30 I'm in bed. But I also wake up relatively early. Around 4:15 I'm always up. Start with my Bible studies, devotions, and whatever. And then in the morning, whatever routines there may be there, compound cleaning, taking out the animals, cleaning the animal shed, and the likes. And one thing that has also helped at home, we have a water spring somewhere nearby here. I've taken it upon myself to be supplying the family with water. So normally I take my 2 jerrycans, 20 liters, go and fetch water severally because we need quite some water because of the animals and human needs. That has been now my exercise routine, balancing 2 jerrycans of 20 liters each. And maybe I go about 8 trips. That has also been part of my daily routine. And therein, at least now, I get adequate exercise. And that has also contributed a lot to maintaining this health. And this is all part of God's plan for His people. In fact, when you talk about healthy lifestyles, you cannot leave out God's plan for His people in this area. And let me stress this point, Ronji, because a lot of people don't associate health and with God. But to really have a healthy lifestyle, we have to bring God in. One, He is the source of life. He knows better than we what is best for our health. And when you go back to the Bible, you find that He has shown us those things that are good for our health. And so among them is healthy food. The other thing God has also encouraged is work. Whatever kind of physical work that you engage in, that is adequate exercise. God has also encouraged rest. God has also encouraged us to live in outdoor life where we have plenty of fresh airs. And I thank God for our rural life, Ronji, because here there is no pollution of air. There is no noise pollution. You've been here for a few days. Have you had any hooting and honking of horns and the likes?
Nope.
Nothing.
Just bird singing.
And so these are some of the health benefits that I'm now enjoying, and I really thank God for it. Equally also, there needs to be a balance about what we take in. Yes, as we end this episode, I would say that health is a gift and it needs to be protected. It needs to be developed. It needs to be encouraged because it's one way we really can thank God. God cannot use unhealthy people. And even among the things that are beneficial or healthy, one thing that is killing most people is intemperance. Intemperance is the overuse of things that are in themselves good, right?
Yes.
Fruits, vegetables, and all these other foods, they may be good, but if you overuse them, you're wasting your body. You are destroying your body. The other thing also is that we need to factor God into our lives. How does that help in matters health? It helps that when you relate with God as a friend, as a source of life, as a benefactor of life, then you'll continually turn to Him in matters that are stressful and such like. And one thing that is really destroying health is depression. When the mind is so occupied with this and that and that and that. And that's where I found a relationship with God to be very helpful, because I unload all my anxieties and whatever to the Lord. And by that, I have a peace of mind, knowing that my Heavenly Father is taking care of these things. Yes, I have my part. Not that I become irresponsible. I have my part. But by His guidance and input. So I'd encourage people, and especially the young people, there is no life or health to waste. The earlier you start, the better. And I would even encourage parents, start with your children as early as possible. Help them to be temperate in their eating. You don't need to overfeed them. Lead them to eat healthful foods, foods that will build them mentally, physically, and spiritually. And above all, that they may have a knowledge of their Creator. Thank you.